Okay. Jay Billings, Aquifer Protection Plan. That's you.
Yes, that's me. Yeah, my name is Jay Billings with Northeast Geoscience. We're a consulting firm that's done work for the water department in the past. We worked on replacement wells for well number 1 and well number 3 today. So thanks for having me here tonight. I'm coming to talk to you about a proposal that we've submitted to the water department based on a request from George Petrinos and also from the town planner regarding aquifer protection issues. So the proposal is essentially a desktop evaluation of potential future well sites in town. It's a look at if you were to develop an additional well in a similar setting to what you have already. All of your existing sources of water are gravel packed wells in aquifer that's less than 50 feet or 60 feet deep. So if we were looking for a similar type of well, an additional source, where would that be, and is there potential for that in town? The advantages of it, obviously, are right now you've got all of the sources you have are contaminated with PFAS, require treatment. You're able to meet peak day demands at this point, is my understanding, but it's close, and additional yield would help the system out. And then the third reason for additional sources is just mechanical redundancy. So you've got additional pump station with independent equipment that if you do have a mechanical problem somewhere, it helps to have an additional station. So the idea was, if we were to try to look for a new source, where would we do it? There's been a number of test well drilling programs in town. We've reviewed those records, and they've identified a couple of sites that we've looked at, specifically the Mitchell property off Cordis Road we tested last summer. There were some test wells installed probably 7 or 8 years ago there by F.G. Sullivan. We pump tested it this summer and concluded the site's good for about 165 gallons a minute. It's a fairly small tributary aquifer out there, so the size of the aquifer sort of limits the yield. And the other consideration is the water quality included elevated iron and manganese. So if you were to develop that site, you'd be treating the water for iron and manganese removal. The advantages of the site are that it's owned by a private landowner who would work with the town, it sounds like, and also it's in a part of the system where you don't have any sources now, so it would help the hydraulics of the system. But it wasn't something that was so good we decided this is the site we wanted to pursue. When you do decide this is the site you want to pursue, new source development takes a long time in Massachusetts now. There's a lot of review, it's MEPA processes involved, it's a long permitting process. So you don't want to start down that road unless you've got a pretty good site to begin with to make it worthwhile. So the question is, how do we identify additional sites? The first phase in our proposal is a literature review, looking at published geologic maps. Again, we're looking for these sandy gravel deposits. They only occupy a very small portion of the town, so it focuses you pretty quickly on some areas that are underlain by the right deposits. The other big consideration is land ownership. A new source with a Zone 1 protective radius of 400 feet requires 400-foot protective radius around the well, has to be dedicated to protecting the well itself. You can only do things in that radius that are directly related to the operation and maintenance of the well itself. So you could put a water treatment plant in there, you could put an access road and power, but you have to have it free of roads, houses, septic systems, all of those things. So you need a fairly large piece of land. A 400-foot radius is 11.5 acres with a well site right in the middle. So immediately you're looking at parcels 15 acres and larger. So a GIS analysis of the town, we can do a query where we say, show me all the parcels that are greater than 15 acres and are also underlain by sand and gravel. And that's how we sort of focus in on these pieces of land. And then another layer of consideration is a water quality hazard survey. We're looking for a clean water well site. So if there are obvious sources of contamination on the property now, it rules it out. And there are a couple in town that we've looked at that have, obvious sources of contamination. We're just sort of steering clear of those. So as part of this evaluation, there's a company called EDR that does these database research. For very small money, you can get a listing of all the listed hazardous waste sites in town, very organized list, and they maintain these databases. So it's a fairly easy thing to do. And then the last thing what we want to look at in this study is the existing aquifer protection map. So you've got an aquifer protection bylaw that protects right now the delineated zone 2 recharge areas for your existing sources. And that's a requirement that DEP has in place. You're required to protect or limit land use in zone 2 to those uses that they deem not threatening to water quality, essentially. The town planner and others have requested that we also look at expanding the area that's protected by this map to include other potential well sites in town, other aquifer areas in town. So as part of this study, we would prepare a draft map that proposed other areas you might consider protecting. The process that would go through would be, it would have to be taken to a planning board public hearing, everybody would hear about it, and then if the planning board voted that it was favorable, it would be taken to town meeting, it would have to be adopted there, and then approved by the Attorney General. So there's quite a process in changing the map, but we should look at whether or not it's worth doing at this point, whether or not there are some areas we should protect at this point for a future. So that's essentially the proposed study. I've submitted the proposal to George. It was dated back in September. I've been waiting for an opportunity to come here and talk to you folks about it and just tell you what it's all about. We're ready to move forward on it. I estimate the schedule is about 3 months to complete the work. And we would come out the backside of that with a report that included these maps and a prioritized list of sites that we would recommend you further explore. And the next step would be test well work after this. This is really the desktop evaluation before we do any actual field work, and then the next phase would be test wells.
Okay.
For you, Mr. Chairman, what's the cost, once you identify potential sites, the initial evaluation determine if you want to go to a further evaluation? Like you'll do your initial test wells and get a kind of base what contaminants are there. What's that cost typically?
I would say you're in the $30,000 to $40,000 range at that point. It's similar to what we did last summer on the Mitchell property, except the test wells were already installed there. So a large part of the cost is putting the test wells in.
You see that in your other proposal?
Yeah, that depends on depths and the number of wells you drill. Test well drilling, you don't know how many wells you're gonna drill going in because you stop when you find the good one, So we usually budget 6 wells going in. I found a lot of sites on well number 6 for some reason. But, so you kind of don't know going in, but that's a ballpark.
I'll put number 6 in first.
Well, I wish I could do that.
And then what do you do for a pump test?
Initially, we
24
would,
hour?
well, initially we would be doing 2-hour pump tests on pairs of 2.5-inch test wells. And that's an old method of comparing well sites. If you put a series of 2.5-inch wells, you can pump each one of them individually with a vacuum pump and very quickly tell whether you've got good yield or not. A good 2.5 will pump maybe 80 gallons a minute. So if you find something like that, you put another 2.5-inch test well 2 feet away, and what that does is it allows you to pump one and measure the water level in the other one, and it simulates the drawdown at the outside of a big well, essentially. And it's sort of an old cookbook way. We've tested so many sites in this very same way that we can pretty quickly compare it to old sites and say this one looks good or okay. And it depends on how much drawdown you get in that other observation hole. If it drops 6 feet, you walk away and find another site. If it drops half a foot, then you've got something real good, if you move forward at that point. And then following that, ultimately, you have to get to the point where you put a larger diameter test well or a production well in and do a minimum 5-day test. The state has been reserving the right to do 15.
15 days.
15-day pump test, yeah. And it's a tough requirement, you know, getting a temporary pumping setup to run for 15 days is hard to do. But they've been.
15 newer, they used to always do a 10-day pump test, and you calculate out 180.
Yeah, so the 5-day was really the old
Yeah.
number, but they reserved the right to make it do 15. The thing is, there aren't too many new sources going through the system anymore, so you get a lot more attention these days when you are the one going through the permitting process.
They're all younger and like to test their
Right.
textbook stuff.
That's right. So, yeah, ultimately, you know, the process of new source approval, I'll warn you going in, is, you know, 10-year process. There's a NEPA filing in the middle, there's a lot of environmental review. You have to demonstrate the need for the water. I think you can do that.
Like we said, we don't have
Yeah.
a problem
We don't have
demonstrating.
a problem.
Right, I don't think you'll have an issue with that. The other big consideration with these new sources are environmental considerations, primarily trout health. And the way they evaluate that is they compare your proposed withdrawal, how much water you're gonna pump, to how big is the stream you're right next to. So if you're next to a very small little stream, like Potash Brook, you know, you might have a bad comparison there. If you're next to the French River, it looks pretty good, or the Quinnebog. So you guys have two pretty big rivers coming through town, so that analysis should be favorable. And that's not true of a lot of towns. I work in some, you know, like Westboro is a headwaters community. All the streams are really small, so you do that analysis on any stream and it fails miserably. But they have 9 wells and not.
Westboro's a tough town to begin with.
Isn't that where you went for it? Okay, so,
Well, I've been asking for this for years.
yes.
So I'll make a motion to accept the Northeast Geoscience Inc. proposal for a desktop evaluation of potential future well sites and proposed document protection and district mapping for the town of Dudley as outlined for the sum of $18,600. I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Jim, do we have a line item that will cover that at this point?
We should. Just
I don't
think
know
so.
what's left in,
Hold on. Just double check one thing.
I just want to make sure we have
Hey.
line items that are sufficient to,
Yes.
okay. All right, any further discussion?
Just, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Jay, just a couple of questions. You used the language. You have topographical maps that would tell you where underground aquifers are, basically?
Yeah, essentially, and also the United States Geological Survey has done a great job mapping this stuff. You know, they've got these academic types that have drawn up these really, really good aquifer maps. They're called hydrogeologic atlas maps, or hydrologic atlas maps, the HA series. And they show up pretty well, and Mass GIS has brought them into their layers too. So this stuff's fairly well understood.
So you would have a good hint where to start
Absolutely.
searching.
Absolutely.
And I mean, right now, like a lot of our land is tied up in the Agricultural Preservation Act in Dudley.
Yes.
And can you actually go on that land?
It depends on who owns it. If we have landowner permission, we certainly can. You know, that brings implications as far as taxes. I believe it's a tax exempt status, is that right? But I think if you end up purchasing it as a town, you're tax exempt as well. So I'm not sure that is a disadvantage. But,
And
you
it
know,
would, would essentially be protected as well, because we're not gonna do anything or
No.
disturb anything more than we need to establish a well.
All you want is your building.
And we
building
can
on
make
it.
a pump station look like a log cabin if that's what they really want to make it fit.
As long as you have access to all that technology to tell you which direction to look, that gives you an idea how optimistic you can be.
Absolutely.
You know?
I've got access to great technology. I mean, all this stuff has come really far. All this is online.
It's good.
It really is. Yeah.
That was my only thought,
Okay.
educational in that respect, you know?
Any other questions? Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay. We'll be working with you there.
Terrific.
And we've also got a proposal in front of us for some monitoring wells at stations,
All the stations.
all the stations.
Yeah. This is really focused on 3, 6, and 7, which are all on,
Oh, down there, yep,
yeah,
okay, yep.
in one general area. And the issue down there is that, well 3 is the first one we detected PFAS in. It looks like it, and the concept was it was coming down the French River Valley from sort of the direction of Ethan Allen and upgrading toward Webster.
All those.
And then,
Those boxes.
well 6 has PFAS in it as well, and that seems to be coming down Potash Brook. So it looks like there's more than one source here. And George has been asking me to look at concentrations away from the pumping wells, so we can figure out where this stuff is coming from, get some kind of idea of where the source areas are, and what concentrations you're gonna be treating in the future. Now, he asked me for this proposal, and I haven't had a chance to go through this with him, so I think we should probably hold off on taking any action on this tonight and let him look at it, but I'd be interested to hear what you guys think.
Well, I agree, I would hold off at the moment, but we're currently in litigation as well for PFAS, so I'd like to run this by the attorneys.
Okay.
And get their opinion as to whether this may be something that they would want to move forward with
Yes.
as part of the litigation to establish a potential defendant, I guess. or
Well,
source.
certainly, I mean, if they're water quality being collected for litigation, they should be involved, absolutely.
Right, and that's,
Our town council is in it, I'll give them that now.
yes. But like I said, this may be something that they would cover as part of our contract with them. This is stuff that they would pay to do, and they would recoup this money prior to us getting our 75%, whatever it is. So, that, and it looks like it's 86,000.
Yeah, it's
For the
significant
first
money,
year.
and, a lot of it is drilling, and, getting a driller up here is tricky too. That some of the drilling conditions around well 6, I understand, are tough, so.
Actually, the drilling is a little less than the sampling for the first year.
Yeah, the sampling adds up significantly.
Yeah, it's 46,800
Well,
for.
but one other thing we're deciding too is the field blanks aren't necessary. We've been sampling for PFAS and Dudley now for 3 years anyway, and none of the field blanks have shown anything. So every time you take a sample, you spend $350 to analyze the sample, and $350 to analyze the field blank, and they all come back clean. So you can cut your costs in half by eliminating the field blanks.
Yeah.
They won't let you do it when it's on the pumping wells.
Right, we can't do it for
If
this
this,
for certified drinking water results, but
right.
for just investigatory sampling, we don't need the field blanks.
Now, if it's for litigation, I don't know.
Well, I would say that the initial round of testing, so we can get if you're gonna be doing quarterly sampling, as long as they're coming back pretty consistent, then I don't think the field blanks will have a lot of bearing, but
So far, they've not been necessary.
you may wanna do one at some point in there to make sure that it verifies, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it on all of them. But I'd prefer to save the money and do the first round, but like I said, if it's council paying for it,
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to refer this one to council?
I would.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's a great idea to do it, because we do need to establish where it's coming from, and, you know, we don't wanna say,
We've been talking
we're
about
gonna put
this.
another source over here, and we're moving closer to the,
You're drilling into it.
closer to the source,
Right.
so,
We've been talking about doing this
yeah.
since that wonderful four-letter word came to visit us. Okay, we'll refer that up to our council and.
When's the best time to do your drilling?
Doesn't really matter. I'll tell you, the biggest limitation is getting drillers out there.
Right.
Everybody's there are less drillers and they're busy, so getting in their schedule, you know, you're usually 3 or 4 weeks out.
All right. So I think we all understand
Sure.
the concept of this, and once we get word back from town council, but we probably don't have an extra 86,000 kicking around in the budget, so.
Not now.
Not right now.
Don't have to spend it now.
So that's why I said we refer to town council, get an idea if we need to go to town meeting to appropriate the money.
That'll be in the spring.
That's in spring, they're not doing a special. Okay, there's, I guess we're.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Yeah, for coming out again. Sawmill Road subdivision, you have the map, right?
There we go.
Okay. So there's a proposed subdivision going in on Sawmill Road. Looks like right next to the dam, just east of the dam, east of the dam.
Further
Yes.
down, yeah, on the left-hand side, yeah. Mr. Chairman, we don't know anything about it, if they're looking for sewer or water.
Sewer only. They met with Mike,
Mm.
I can tell you that, and they were looking for sewer, they'd be putting wells in and sewer.
So that would have to be like a Barnes or E1,
That I don't know.
because you gotta get down to Lawrence Road
So
somehow.
where is the closest sewer?
I
And that
believe
means
it's
Lawrence
Lawrence
Road
Road.
over here.
Lawrence Road.
Lawrence Road has the pump station right at the far end.
I believe that's what Mike had spoken with the gentleman about, was
But if
Lawrence
that's a
Road.
pump station, you're trying to pump from here to that pump station, and that pump station
Well,
handle the additional.
listen to this, it's leaving there, going down to Lawrence Road, coming back out, going up Sawmill to the first pump station, it's being pumped 3 times.
3 times,
That's a good way of looking at it. It's leaving the house and it has to go through 3 pumps before it hits a gravity line. You have
That's all low, yeah.
You follow me? You have the new one on Lawrence, well, that's 20 years old, right? More than that.
Yeah,
Then you have the one on lower
That's-
Lakeview.
Lakeview, yep.
Then you have the other one at the intersection of,
They over here,
Delaney.
over here now.
By Delaney Ave. before, then you go up.
Then it goes up Delaney, goes up Delaney to Mason Road.
To Gravity,
To
so.
Gravity.
How do we stand maintenance-wise and capacity-wise
I don't.
on the other pump stations that go?
Just so you know,
Right.
it's being moved 3 times before it goes to Gravity. That's all.
And, so it pumps out of Lawrence and goes up Sawmill?
Goes up under the stream, then,
So is that past this or the other way?
then
Comes out
down.
of over
These go
here,
downhill to
goes
Lawrence.
up this, it goes across.
I don't know exactly where the station is at Lawrence Road.
It comes out of the land over
Where
here.
your fire end was the water.
Yeah, it comes out of there, goes up through, I'm pretty sure through this field.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, I think it goes through that field.
Is it right away there?
Yeah, I think it goes across that field.
And then force main up to Lakeview. Goes down
Yeah.
Lakeview to the pump station in the middle,
I-
keeps going to the one down by the beach.
I believe this is all uphill to Lawrence Road, all of this.
Yeah, this
over
is,
here. So
this
it's all
from
the gravity.
here to here
To
is
Lawrence.
downhill.
And then Lawrence will pump it, it'll pump through all those
Because
stations.
whether or not
But
those
you need to
three,
go into Lawrence, or can you tie this into Lawrence's space, force main?
With another force, with another pump.
Just run force main up and into that force main, so you're not pumping it through Lawrence. It's at least eliminate one of the pumps.
Right.
That's up to an engineer.
Yeah, they'd have to look at it and design it, because you don't know if Lawrence can overcome the head pressure of this one if it's pumping.
Right.
So you got that would all have to be evaluated.
Okay, so at this point, it's just,
The planning board wanted to know if you had any concerns, questions, input, or anything at this
Or we
time.
have concerns with our station to handle.
Yeah, those are the concerns, how's the sewage gonna be handled, and how's it gonna be pumped?
Okay,
And can our system handle it?
And are these all single family, 6 single family units?
believe so. And the developer was waiting to get through the planning board before coming to see you guys.
That's a pumping project, it's a good way of putting it. You know, for that location, that's a delicate project to remove the waste and get it to a gravity line.
Yeah.
So how is Lawrence, topography wise?
it's downhill. It's downhill from all this property.
Yeah. The top of Lawrence and Sawmill is the highest elevation. Then it works its way back down towards High Pond, if you think of it
So
that way.
this is higher than Lawrence?
Yes,
Yeah,
there's the pump stations down at the back end of Lawrence. And
So could this gravity to Lawrence?
Yes. It would gravity to Lawrence.
So they don't need a pump station, they need gravity to Lawrence.
Right. Yeah, it would gravity into Lawrence, just whether or not Lawrence,
I don't know about that.
the Lawrence pump is big enough.
there's one house.
I think as long
Yeah.
as it's down here. it's-
Yeah.
It goes down.
You turn in and you go
You
down.
do that incline right at Lawrence.
It almost looks like this is existing and not part of the project.
I think it is.
One of them?
Yeah, that house is existing.
This
That-
is,
That's existing.
Yeah, but if you look at-
Billis,
Yeah, that's existing.
Billis is existing.
And
If you look
it's,
at the
Oh, it's
locals,
one, two, three, 6. Oh, they wanna do this too?
no, that's the farmhouse.
That's lot
it
6.
says proposed lot
Oh, wait a
6.
minute, 6 behind the Watroba house. Wow, that Watroba house is gonna come down anyways.
It's an A&R lot, so.
Yeah.
But if you look here, it looks like it goes around a lot there.
Yes, that's that house, that's this house right here.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's lot 66, that's not one of the proposed lots, so that's existing and not
This
part of the
cul-de-sac
project.
would service these 5 lots, and that lot there would probably be going right out to Sawmill.
And that would be elevation-wise lower than.
This one?
Yeah,
that-
that'd be,
this-
that'd
this
be
one.
lower than.
This one's not, if it comes out here, it's not, it's not gravity
It's
to
not
Lawrence.
No, yeah, that's downhill from Lawrence.
But if it's here, and this is back here, it's gotta pass this, so this has to be more than this. No?
Lawrence is right around here,
Yes.
going over that way.
There's the
Yeah.
project, Lawrence is up here.
'Cause that's the existing house. It's
Lawrence
Lawrence.
is
then this
behind
is-
Sawmill?
Lawrence is,
It's behind Sawmill, in a sense.
it's off of Sawmill.
Yeah, but I know what you're talking about, right? Because like Sawmill's running here, and Lawrence is running over here, and the project is in here.
Opposites.
Yeah, it's on the opposite side of the road
Okay,
and past Marino.
okay.
That's the bottom line. Pumping capacity, elevations,
Okay.
can the system take it?
Yeah, that's Lawrence there. That's that Billis house.
Yep, yep.
So it looks like a swimming pool in the backyard.
So
There's the,
gravity
there's the,
here somewhere.
Yeah, it goes up
the Watroba,
to.
the Watroba house right
There you
there.
go.
There's a house and barn. That's the,
and then
that
maybe
Billis
up
property.
Here is a pump
And
station.
So
Is your Lawrence Road?
Yeah, so
So
that
these
cul-de-sac,
gravity down to this?
that cul-de-sac looks like it's gonna be almost right across from
That
Lawrence.
first house is right here.
This, well,
Yeah, that cul-de-sac, that
These-
road is gonna be right across from Lawrence.
that's, I don't know the name of the road. But
There's
all,
Fairfield.
yeah, but all the ones above here, you know, all these lots are gravity down Lakeview,
All these here.
yes.
Yeah,
These
mine
all
is
gravity
gravity.
down and it pops up to Lakeview.
Yeah, mine is gravity down.
Yeah, all the finger streets coming
Yeah.
off of Lisa
Pump
Road,
to
all gravity down the pond.
Somewhere in.
So I'll
here is
send
the pump station.
an email to the planner that those are your
We're
We're
concerns.
concerned about
Okay.
elevations,
I think
pumping,
these are all,
pump capacity,
Perfect.
gravity.
as it appears it has to be
Gravity
pumped
down.
3 times
The
before.
pump
it-
station.
Why would we
Yeah,
that
fill
pump
in
station.
sewer?
That
and
pump
not
station
water?
pumps
No,
up salt.
no.
Oh, if they wanna put a well in.
Here,
There's no water
it's
nearby.
pumped over to here.
The water
There's another
stops,
pump
as you
station.
go down Sawmill
Right
Road,
at the town
it
beach.
stops at the crest
And then
before it goes down.
It stops, yeah,
Then
right
the
up.
furthest end would be over, coming off of Charlton Road.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
if you stop, your water's quite a distance away.
yeah.
Yeah, water's up near Lakeview.
Yeah, by
This
Lakeview.
pump
Then
station.
vice versa, I think there's a hydrant down by the stream where it
Those
goes
two
from,
pump stations.
Yep.
they
Charlton.
can't-
Yeah, right up that first couple houses there.
If this is gravity to here,
seriously,
to Lawrence.
if it would
then
perk, I think
it's
you'd
only
be
those
smarter
two
to,
that- Whether they can handle
to
it.
do a Title V.
Could be, I mean, that's up to them,
That's up to them, man.
but, yeah,
That's 6 perk, that's what he's gonna try to do.
But the lots are big enough.
Yeah.
Okay,
Either way,
so-
elevated system.
so when is the public hearing for this?
It says on that letter, which is right in front of Tom underneath the map.
When is that public hearing?
Can't remember which one's which.
January 11th.
We can't give any kind of permission.
No, we.
Oh, no,
No.
they're not, they just, the town, planning
Just-
board wanted feedback as to what are your concerns looking at that at this point. That's what the planning,
Our concern is whether we can handle it.
right, so the planning board is trying to be more,
Inclusive?
Involved?
thank you.
Proactive.
Those were all the words that were gonna come out, yeah, because of what happened a little while back. So they wanna bring everything and look for any input, so I'll be making sure that everything comes through.
Okay,
Yeah, that'd be a very expensive endeavor for them.
And you need an engineered blueprint to accept it.
Okay, the credit card.
Did you see the email?
I did not, but
There's one in your packet as to, it was being worked on by the previous assistant town accountant. It has since, we no longer have an assistant town accountant at this time, it's kind of been halted, but he is getting back to work on that.
okay. I don't see anything. Or, well, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so.
okay. Warrant Article 20, we're still,
So then they're giving us a extra.
well, it's not a matter of them, if we decide we want one, we can ask for one and that, it's gonna happen. But, they were talking about the possibility of having to do one, and I guess they're not going to.
Why wouldn't we ask for
Who said they're not going?
They did.
Not for this, for a different item.
That was another item that they were talking about, that they may need to have to do a special, and they're not doing, they don't need to do it now.
Oh, yeah, I had that on here for special, the article that we were looking for.
Right. And then, we would have added our article to that. Now, there isn't, at this point, posted and everything else. Yeah, I suppose it would save some time. We don't know what the status is of the SRF.
My concern is the money's gonna be gone.
Right, it may already be.
I can tell you it was available whenever we put the article forward.
It was, but I mean, it may not be available.
Because I submitted mine after and I already got approved on mine.
Yes, you did. So,
Was available at the time that we had attempted to put this forward.
so, I believe it takes about 6 weeks to get a special town meeting moving, to get it to happen from the time it's the start of the process. So that would be, put us into mid to end of February. And town meeting, annual town meeting is in May, mid-May, so yeah, I guess it'll be 3 months in advance, I don't
Can
know.
happen in 3 months.
Huh?
A lot can happen. in
A
3
lot
months.
can, yes, it depends, I guess, on how much,
I can tell you, everyone else that missed getting it in on fall town meeting
yeah,
will probably be applying for it in spring town meeting.
yeah,
So you'll be competing against everybody else. It depends on when our town meeting goes and all the competing towns, town meetings go forward.
okay, yeah, I don't know, okay.
So Chairman, a question of the cost of the town meeting, are they covering it?
That's a discussion that will have to be had.
You mean special? I thought they already said they weren't doing special.
But they weren't doing one for their stuff, so now it becomes, you know, we ask for one, are we responsible for paying for it? And,
I don't think we should be, since they would have bluntly screwed up the last one.
and I tend to agree with you on that. So, what's the,
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we request from the town a special town meeting,
to deal with,
Article 20.
which was the,
Lead and copper.
Lead and copper.
Service line inventory. Like a service line.
okay. A motion's been made, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded, any further discussion?
Just one quick question.
Sure.
I know. If this gets approved and you go forward and they are not going to pay for it, will you be paying for it? Just because I'll be getting bills, so I just want to know.
I think it's on the town. They changed our article.
So are you only, I just want to know are you only going forward with it if they're going to pay for it?
No, I say we go forward with it, and we'll sue the town for the cost of it, I guess.
Just so that's just my own, so I know that's all.
I think it should be agreed upon by the town that they're funding the cost of the town meeting before we move forward with it. And then if they don't move forward with it and we don't obtain the funding at Springtown meeting, then the town should be on the hook for funding the project for the $200,000.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Sorry.
Okay, so, my motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Webster True Up, actually, we've got a meeting coming up with them the end of the month.
The 26th, was it?
I believe it was.
I posted it already.
6:30.
What day?
26th.
The 26th, Thursday the 26th. I don't have it in my calendar, I better put that in. Okay. 26th January, 16, 18:30, Webster. And we should probably confirm with them that we're still on the docket for that. You good now? Other than that, I haven't heard from, there were some emails mid-December, beginning of December, haven't heard anything since. But I know the Abraham Group and our consultant have been going back and forth with numbers and they're working it. So I'll get with Paul tomorrow. I'll try calling him and see if there's been any movement there, and if it looks like there will be any before 26th. then I'll have Jen forward what,
I don't know if you have any recommendations for us to push for at that meeting.
sure.
I know there was talk about redoing the agreement.
The IMA, well, yeah, that's, yeah. Okay. All right, permit online. Permits online, fines for working without a permit.
So, the majority of the offices have now gone to the online permitting system,
Right?
which you can go right online, everything's done, you pay for it, everything's done right online, or you can still bring a check to the office.
Sure.
So they've asked if we would go online. What that involves is we put all of our permits online. They would fill everything out, it automatically comes to me. We do whatever we need in the office. This way I would know everything that's going on. It would eliminate some of the, so-and-so did a repair 2 weeks ago, here's the permit application and the check.
Yeah, because you give approval.
Yeah, I don't know about some of the jobs till a
It's
couple
done.
weeks after they're done.
Yeah, this way
This
here.
would eliminate that unless it's an emergency. You know, I understand that, that's not what we're, but again, it takes literally 2 minutes to go online and fill it out. We don't have a complicated permit, and it's very easy to do it online, and it comes directly to me. When they fill it out, it would come direct to me, and I would just go through, do my stuff, and then when the guys go out and inspect it, it would get an electronic approval, the contractor would know that they're all set, I have record that it's all set, everything's been closed out, and it's a good way of keeping track of what's open and what's closed. Plus, it would eliminate some of the contractor doesn't even come into the office, they give it to somebody out in the field, or in passing, a week or two later, and then I get it, and I don't even know what occurred, what happened, why was, you know what I mean?
It's all bloodstained.
And I know nothing about it. I think documentation wise, it would be a good thing. It would keep much better records than,
That makes perfect sense to,
So why do you wanna exclude emergencies?
no, I want emergencies too, but let's say that something happened at 5 o'clock at night.
Sunday morning.
They still can go online and do it.
Yeah,
I mean,
But you need the approval, you usually, like Amanda, you would check it, you would see it, and
Right,
approval
but
would
they
be
could,
given.
right, but like during an emergency, file it and go.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
because you're not checking it nights or Saturdays or Sundays.
So I
Question,
do.
Yeah.
but what work would you consider an emergency that they wouldn't need approval on?
I don't know, you tell me, that's what I don't know, so that's
That's why
what,
I'm trying to walk it through, I mean, anything that's relating to us is water or sewer.
right,
Right.
So there's gonna be a dig safe, they have to call it in, dig safe requires reporting, regardless of whether it's an emergency or not, you have to report it. You don't have to wait the 3 days, but you still have to report it.
I agree with you, this is what I'm being told from contractors, that, oh, it was an emergency, that's why I'm not getting it to you later. So that's why I'm looking to find out,
Dig safe doesn't buy that excuse, so,
perfect,
Maybe they should wait.
and
perfect,
if they're dealing with a water or a sewer line, we need to be notified to go out and witness or inspect
Right.
anyway, so I think
Right,
regardless.
That's my question, they do it online, are they doing it?
but it's, you know, they're doing all of that they may be notifying, but there's no permit filled out yet.
see, if they go online and fill out the permit, I'm gonna get instant notification. And I'm gonna say to, if it's water, I'm gonna say to my water guys, hey, this is going on, are you aware of this, can you go out there? If it's sewer, I'm gonna do the same thing. Now, I don't get that,
Right.
I get a piece of
Yeah.
paper and a
But it
$25.
shouldn't be your responsibility to say, hey, do you tell the guys, did you hear about this, pretty much?
Well, who would?
It should
No,
be, it should come
they-
through the office.
you should get the permit.
Yeah.
And then they should schedule an appointment with the guys to
No.
go do the work.
They want it through the office. The
No, I
guys-
meant through,
The guys want it through the office.
yes.
Everything should come through the office.
They should schedule an appointment through the office with the guys to go do the
Right,
work.
right, that's what this
It
would
shouldn't
be doing.
be, did you hear, you shouldn't be asking the guys, did you hear about this?
But I would reach out to my guys and say, are you aware, has anybody contacted you yet? Cause if not, this is your notification. Because what we're trying,
Emergency.
what we're trying to do is eliminate the contractors
Yeah, we don't want
calling
the catching them down at
Dippin'
Dippin's and
Donuts.
saying, hey, I gotta go
Because that's
do
what's
this.
happening right now.
Right. We've
and
run
I
into that
don't
too many times
know.
so far.
What's going on, and
Well,
I'm
that's what I'm
not,
trying to get to is.
right, no, everything would come to me,
Right,
and then I would put out to the guys.
right.
That would be,
That's
So-
how it should go,
Well,
so we,
yeah,
so we have a
then, yeah.
paper trail and document.
I've been
Yes,
trying to do it paper-wise, but I have some contractors and some that still put it out there, and then I don't get it. And then I find out about it after the fact, well, that's not, and I don't care if the guy knew, but I didn't know, and I don't know if I have valid insurance on them.
Right.
Every time they file a permit, they have to submit, they know,
Yes.
valid insurance, valid, that they have to submit everything so that
Mhm.
we know each time it's up to date. And I'm not just getting the application, which is a one-page piece of paper, and a $25 check on my desk.
Okay, so they, walking through it, they fill out the paperwork,
Everything goes, would you want it online or now?
online, they do it online. They, on the application, did they say the date they're gonna do it?
Yep.
Okay, and then,
It gets sent directly to me.
okay. Now,
And-
then you call the guys to.
I review
go-
everything.
Then you'll call the guys to go inspect it?
Yeah, I'll
On
call
that
the
date?
guys and let them know everything that's going on, and we'll have it on the calendar so that everything is traceable
Documented.
and documented.
Okay.
Right now, I don't know when they go out and inspect anything. They come back and sign a piece of paper that I keep in a book by addresses, but it's still,
we're trying to
Yeah, no,
get
I
rid of
agree. I
the
totally
old
agree.
boy,
yeah,
the
and
old,
and
the old way of doing things.
Jay works on the system now, so I think you know it.
That's what I'm getting at, with code inspection, you can get on the same site that the town of Dudley uses
I'm on
That's the
now,
open
Yes.
job, right?
yeah,
as Dudley Water and Sewer Department.
yes.
So XYZ contractor goes to the town of Dudley, goes, code inspection, or will you have a separate
Yeah.
heading?
What it'll be
Water,
is,
sewer.
yeah, so I'm just using, I'm just gonna use, Bobby Mason, cause I know he does work for the Board of Health and for water sewer. So he'll sign on, when he goes on to do anything for Board of Health, he signs on. So he'll sign on with the same login, just go to water sewer and click on whatever he wants. It'll just be a subheading on it.
Yeah.
So,
So what the bottom line is,
I just
cost.
want, there's no additional cost. We do the permits
well-
ourselves, we put them online ourselves. I just wanted to make you guys aware of it and make sure that you didn't have an objection to it. And then I have a question about,
Objection, why? This is,
building all of that whole department, inspectional services. If you do work without a permit, there's a fine.
Double the fine,
It's
double the
double
permit
fee.
yeah,
That is something that has been asked if that's something you wanna implement or not.
Definitely.
well, we have to write up a policy, but,
No,
Yeah.
it's just basically, work done
Okay.
without a permit is double the fee.
okay, that's fine.
Paragraph B, work done without a permit.
That's how it is for electrical, plumbing, Board of Health, building, everything. I just wanted to, is that what you
Is
do,
double
or?
the fee,
I don't know,
double the permit fee appropriate?
I don't know that that covers enough. Just
That's
thinking,
not-
just thinking of
Yeah,
what could
you
be
tell me.
done. I
To our water
mean, like I
supply.
said, our stuff is water and sewer. If they say, oh crap, we had a leak, so they dug it up and then they trenched it and they put a T in so they can run one over to a yard hydrant that they have in their barn, and then they ran it up to the house and it's not being metered.
So
You know what I mean?
you
So
tell
if we
me-
don't inspect it, and they said, oh, I had to do this as an emergency, and they dig it up, and it didn't get inspected before they backfill, you have no idea what they did.
I'm more concerned about they tap in and contaminate the water supply.
That's what I mean,
Right.
they can put a T in and run over to a barn, and they got a bucket of,
So how do you wanna? You can think
What
on
is
that,
the
I'm gonna,
permit fee?
I'm sorry?
What are the normal permit fees?
That's the thing, a repair, for a water repair or a sewer repair is $50.
So doubling that's $100, they do it, that's definitely not enough.
well, it's just the fee that they're looking at for the application, but I would probably put language in there that said, we have the right to discontinue service, or
Okay.
something that if we think they did something
So,
They could potentially have to dig it back up and have the line inspected, so you need to have that language.
That's why I'm saying we need a little bit more.
so I will start working on getting them online, but for the next meeting, we'll work on getting
I think-
some wording.
Try to do some kind of
Give us some
policy.
I
strength.
think there should be, not maybe dig it up, I think we should mandate, because
Oh, it should
if
be,
we
yeah.
don't, we're gonna take somebody's word on it, yes, that's what we did.
Right.
And
Okay,
we're signing off on that.
And we don't know what material they used and,
right,
you know.
So I think it should be in there that if they're done without a permit, it doesn't count. It's coming, redoing it.
Across the board, how many permits do you have taken out on a monthly basis for repairs?
how many do I get notified of?
Very few.
Yeah, there's more done than I get notified of,
Really?
She doesn't get notified more than she gets notified.
that's correct. And I'm just-
So this is not a.
It doesn't get
50 a
notified by
month.
who?
This is not 50 permits a month.
No, no, and that, I don't get any notification,
Is
so let's
that,
just put
but
it,
who is not notifying you, the contractor or employees?
I would not know because,
Okay, but if employees are going out and saying, yeah, that's good, and they're bringing in an application and a check, then they're culpable.
so this
Okay, yeah, all
way,
right, so there's.
this is a way to try to
Clean up the process and,
bring it into the current,
Well, they have to, our employees have to know that we need the application in office paid before it is done.
so this will
If it's
eliminate
not, then they're gonna
that,
do it again.
and this will eliminate that, because if.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna be huge expense if they have to go dig it back.
Yes,
up,
yes.
you know,
And this,
so-
and doing everything, I think electronically will eliminate, because if somebody comes to me and says, I inspected such and such, I'm gonna say, I have no record of that.
In that open gov, there's comment sections.
Yes.
And you can type it in there, was inspected by Mike. or
Yes, and that's what I will,
Submit,
I'll be
and
able
it's
to-
just added- it's added to the record.
yeah, and that's what I'll be able to do, which is,
We need George to be on board with this and let them know that the
yeah,
board, they're,
yeah, the coffee stain, muddy application isn't gonna,
and I know some of the
emergency or
contractors.
not.
Yeah, and I know some of the contractors have always called the guys, and I appreciate that, but it needs to come through the office, we
Right,
need to.
Definitely.
I just wanna have, because this way we can account for, oh, well, there was a leak here, this person had a leak and they repaired it, and,
and it also accounts for if something bad happens,
Who's working there?
what work has been done in that area,
right,
or in any area,
and I'm just very
could have caused.
OCD about having documentation, so this will make it a little bit better for me.
Well,
Okay.
you be in the front line of the, it's gonna be your foot that's just stopping.
Oh, and I will.
Okay.
And what I would also do is probably add, we're doing the asset management
Yes.
on the wastewater, and I think we're applying for the water this round.
Mhm.
As part of the asset management, the GIS program's on there, and when they do a replacement, if they replaced curb to house, you could enter that into the GIS and put it on there, because part of this $200,000 that we're paying right now for a lead service line inventory
It's-
is, if we had this data, you could probably cut that down to 100,000 instead of 200,000,
Right.
because if you had all the records, they could just go, oh, that one's got a plastic line, oh, that's got this has been replaced. And we don't have any of those records, but if you had them in the GIS, so
Right.
I would add it to the policy or whatever I
Perfect.
would write up. When a service line is replaced, whether it's
And they
main
have to
curb
tell me,
or curb to house,
and that's also what I want to know is, like, and I might reach
date,
out to you.
material,
Material, right?
yeah,
Okay.
size, material.
Our permit is very basic, it just
We
tells
need
me.
to up the permit.
Oh, I-
Update the permit.
And that's why putting them online, it'll have a lot more information, I'll be adding more, but that's what I wanna put is materials used, so that, cause right now it just gives me the address and that it was a sewer repair or a water repair.
And I believe the previous fleet, was that JBF that we were on? That one just got redone again.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's something that I had said when I was out there, I'm like, I can't believe you guys do a patch repair. It's right
Oh, that
here.
one that was, took out
It's
half the
patched
yard?
twice, yeah,
Yeah.
So
It's just been done
they
the
finally
front end.
replaced it all the way back to the main, which was only another 2 feet or something as far, and that's what I had said when I was out there, just dig back to the main. And when they did it, they crimped black plastic.
Right.
And I explained to Brian recently.
Yes,
How to fix that, so anytime you crimp any of the material, plastic, copper, or whatever, I always put a 3-part union on, and I slide it on before I do the repair. And then when you uncrimp it and you re-round it, you slide the 3-part union over it, so you fix the break that's gonna happen in a couple weeks, because you can't crimp those without causing a weak spot, so.
yeah,
You basically repair it before it breaks, so you don't have to come back to it, but I don't like doing repairs like that.
Yeah.
If you're there, just replace it.
just replace it, yeah.
Mickey Mouse.
Did they have a leak today somewhere, Jen?
Yeah,
Yesterday.
I
Leo.
saw the, no.
Oh,
small-
today they have?
I saw the dump truck go by with a load of money.
Leo, up on Leo Ave.
They had to go that way,
Yeah.
cause they're on Airport Road going by where I was
Yeah.
working, I went.
The-
"Oh,
Today
you-"
was Leo, it wasn't,
Charlton Road, yes.
it was Charlton and Pine
Yeah.
yesterday, today was Leo.
Ugh,
We're off to a good start for the year,
Was it a service line again?
There's no pressure up there.
so.
So the one at Pine now, we had a big hoopla over the guy that came in because we didn't know we had a water main going up Pine
Right.
to that section. So have we determined if that water main makes it to
I
Charlton Road?
drove through that, I don't know exactly where the break was, but it wasn't in the intersection. Because I drove through it yesterday afternoon
They had
on
a,
my way to work, and it was all contiguous.
Patch right there at Charlton.
Yeah, Charlton is a patch.
Yeah, it's on Charlton.
I didn't
Right
see
at the
it.
top of Pine.
yep, it's right there, and they had a difficult time
I went
finding,
over it today.
I know
Yeah.
yesterday.
I saw it. I'm just saying that I know we abated a lot of money for a guy because he bought a whole bunch of water main that he didn't need to buy.
Right,
Because the water main was going by and we didn't know a water main was there because we were.
Skip Hemming, is the guy's name.
right.
Yeah, so,
I can't say there's a 6 or 8 inch water main there. I don't know if that's a 1 inch
I know
water.
it goes
main
up,
going
it goes
down,
up,
no,
feeding-
it goes up and it
was a
ends.
bulb main going up to that house, that lot that the guy.
Yeah.
Right.
He bought water main because we told him he had to run main up to
They
there.
connected.
And when they dug it up, there was a main
Yeah,
already
we'll
there.
have to ask George, when they dug, what did they see? Yeah, that's a good question.
So I don't know if they have determined if it's looped over to Charlton
I
Road.
don't believe
or
it
if
is.
just goes
It
up
does
there.
end, it
And
ends.
if it ends there, then that's dumb that we don't go and
Connect.
loop that.
We'll have to find out.
Okay, so
Spring project.
we're gonna get the permits
Absolutely, they'll be
online,
on.
I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Thank you.
The sewer labor,
This is a new, job description that George did up,
okay, yep.
and,
Did this go through the union yet?
no.
Okay, because I don't
What?
like,
Well, didn't go through the union, I've already looked at it, and
Um,
it needs some verbiage.
it
And-
needs a lot of work.
Yeah,
Yes.
and if, in the superintendent report, he states that he probably
Yes.
won't need this till,
I spoke with,
summer.
the employee that's about to retire, and he's talking about pushing out now to like October, November. Possibly. He's not sure when, but he's not ready to retire quite yet, so we do have some time to
so if you can review that. and-
review it, make some pen and ink changes, and we can,
So have we determined whether or not the sewer laborer can do water work, other than
it's-
George always saying that I can make him go do what I need him to do?
But
Just because, I mean, it says sewer labor in the first line of the duties, it says performs any and all daily routine check, will perform inspections, maintenance, basic repairs. Position will primarily deal with learning and or assistance in duties as it pertains to the water distribution system.
Yeah.
and sewer collection systems.
But you're right off the bat, the first. part of the job is
Contradicting.
the water.
Contradicting the job opening.
And
So-
George wants it just sewer for the union. The title,
Yeah, I know what the union keeps saying, that you can't do this stuff, but you can't say it's a sewer labor position. You can say
Tell me
their
doing
primary purpose is water distribution and sewer collection, but, and I don't like the fact that it says the position will primarily deal with learning and or assisting.
No.
No. A job description isn't you're learning
No.
to do the job. The job is this, and yes, you have to learn to do the job.
You need to do the job, period.
Yeah.
And if it
Here's what the
requires
job
some
is.
learning, fine, but yeah, you don't, and it needs some work, but
So I could put it on for next month if you'd like, and you can go through and,
I was gonna ask if we were gonna do a mid-month, but we're already doing a mid-month with, doing another meeting with Webster, so
And what did
if we need one, we can do one, but
what did the contract negotiation or whatever, when did that happen last and when's the next time it's up
We have
for
a
the
new,
union contract?
we just had a new contract last year,
Right.
so 2 more years,
so 3 years from the date.
right? It's a 3-year contract.
So can we get a date on that union contract so we know when it expires?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll, that's becoming a placeholder as well. Uh, Budget
We can ask
review,
Ian if we can be in on it.
budget
That's
revenue
That's
review,
what I wanna know.
budget revenue review, we have a,
You just have budgets.
we just have budgets, yes. Evidently, there's been no change in revenues now since September. I guess there
Should be
hasn't
any
been
change in any expenses if it's not, we're getting paid.
so the revenues,
That's an issue.
there's no revenue report for December. So we haven't gotten one for October, November, or December.
Are we requesting it monthly?
Mm-hmm.
Have we gotten an answer why we?
I CC'd Scott on the response.
The response was, I don't remember seeing that, let's see, that is updated revenue. No update on revenue as of today, I will review that what we have on Tuesday, okay, that was Tuesday.
And
Okay, that was last week. And yesterday, sewer water, Dudley SSO, that's SS. Updated revenue, yesterday, yep, there it is. Good morning, no updates on the revenue as of today, I will review what we have on Tuesday. If there are specific questions your board needs answered, please email them to me. I will provide answers. Thank you, Richard Carmichael. That was yesterday.
We never know where we stand financially. What you do at home or in your business, you know, and yet we're paying vouchers all day long to pay bills. You know,
So, yeah,
Have we done a draft budget yet? Has anyone worked on that
No,
for FY
so,
four?
no.
so we do have the budgets in front of us. When we review that, then we can go back to the revenue and other things. Because the next line is, I've got a significant amount of information. Is there anything that is, so by looking at the superintendent's line item, it's 53% left. So actually, that should be, that's as of 12/21, okay, so yeah, it should be closer to 50% now. But, that's percent left, so,
And these are accurate because this is done by the accountant,
yep.
so when she does a voucher, it comes off.
But
yeah.
Sewer
But you-
zero is sewer maintenance is at 0, nothing left.
So it's accurate to
Yeah,
what vouchers have been created but not paid?
no, so
So we got 6 weeks, which is a month and a half,
those are all taken out of there.
so they're not included in this.
That is correct. They've been taken out.
Okay, so they've been accounted
We've
for,
been
Sorry.
there for a year,
but they
yes.
actually haven't been paid.
They have not been paid yet, but she has done her part, and she used to print the checks, but now that has gone downstairs. But it looks like we've paid, you know what I mean?
Right.
The only vouchers that haven't been taken out are the ones that you're signing now.
Okay, so it looks like there's a few line items that are, there's a few of them that are at 0, one of them being sewer maintenance.
That wasn't funded.
How is it not funded?
It shouldn't have been, it was an error line item. That shouldn't have been in the budget.
Oh,
And we're already over on gas.
Yep.
Water overtime is over. Retirement is over. How can retirement be over?
Other indirect, other indirects, is there where we get
It's been taken out already, right? That's what we squawked about a while back. You just-
That's, I've got it. It's the next line
Right
item.
off the bat.
Next line on the budget.
How
On
come we
the
have that money
agenda.
hanging around where they can take that much at any given time?
But, okay, so there's, we have the budget, it looks, a couple of line items that are, fortunately, we can move money around to cover it, but, I'm gonna have to keep an eye on.
Gasoline.
Yeah, gasoline is,
how was the water gasoline account?
Negative.
Yeah.
water gasoline is to the negative $29.
We're already over on water overtime.
Yes,
Yeah, with all the leaks.
all the leaks and,
With the tanks.
and the, you know, all that tank stuff last fall.
You had inquired about if money could be moved to a salary position, to
Well, my understanding was you can't take money from salaries and move it to expenses, and you can't take expenses and move it to salary.
so you can take expenses and move it to salary, but you cannot take salary and move it to expenses. We conferred with the town accountant.
Okay.
That still wasn't my understanding, but I'll look into that on my end, but
That was what, the information I was, did I email you that?
you did.
Okay, I couldn't. And, just so you are aware, I CC'd you on it, I did invite him,
Mhm.
as the board requested, to attend the meeting.
I got a reply at 4 o'clock this afternoon, an email. Did it come to the office as well, or was it just?
I believe it's just you, I checked, I
Okay,
didn't get anything.
and basically, he said he's been out of the office, ill, and he asked if we have questions, if we had questions for him to, email them to him, and he'll get us answers.
So when is
I've
it?
been trying to, you know, I can't speak for 4 other people, I'm not gonna try to speak for 4 other people. And to try to have a back and forth by email just doesn't work.
So when is the draft budget due?
We haven't been given any information yet. I can have,
It's usually
Them
around
step.
March.
I can have him start working on it if you like.
Well, that's why I'm asking, is
so-
if it's March,
Excuse me,
you know, we're
sorry.
already, this is the January meeting, so we got February meeting, if it's due by March, then we need to start reviewing the budget at the next meeting.
Okay, I will have.
Maybe we need to do that, okay. So the next line item on our agenda, indirect costs. I had a conversation and a slew of emails with the Department of Revenue, local representative, and then the law division. They said that the way indirects work by statute is that the town and the enterprise come to an agreement. And that's how that amount is determined. So that you come to an agreement, then it goes to town meeting votes for it and approves it. So when day 1 of the budget year happens, transferring it is okay because it's already been approved by agreement.
It's been negotiated.
So I've been thinking, you know, I went through the what they had sent me and everything else, and it looks to me like if we make it known that we don't agree to the indirect amount, then there's no agreement.
Right.
So that amount that's been plugged into our budget year after year after year, after we've already done a budget review,
Well, that's why-
we don't have agreement.
That's why I was asking when the budget's due, so that I would like to go through, well, you had a copy of basically what their formula was or whatever that,
Oh, from 1994, I think.
Right, but they're still charging for positions that are not, that are no longer
Yeah,
exist.
they no longer exist,
So if we're not gonna get it.
and the percentages aren't accurate anymore either.
I would prefer to sit down and go through that with this board, and we'll go through and figure out what we think is a reasonable expense and percentage, and we'll do the calculation ourselves and come up with it, we'll put that number in our budget. And if they wanna change it, they'll have to come back.
But they should
or-
negotiate.
According to the Department of Revenue, that amount is come to by agreement.
So I mean, we've never agreed.
We haven't agreed to it in
We've
at least
actually-
5 years.
We've actually expressed a disagreement with it multiple times, so.
So
Multiple
I think,
meetings,
if that, other than that, DOR doesn't get involved. They came right out and said, we don't get involved in local.
They don't,
that's
we just needed to know what their interpretation
Their
of the
interpretation,
standard
yes.
methodology of doing it is.
The local representative used to, before she worked for the state, worked in a water district
Enterprise fund.
and had considerable knowledge, and I guess her response to be appropriate for camera says, would be, that's not right. You know, why would you do that? She had other words, but, I mean, it was a phone call between her and I. But it just, so I guess,
So can I say, Mr. Chairman, we're all in agreement? That was the last, we're gonna fix this for the next budget?
yes.
So it
So,
was guaranteed that number you have there is gonna go up another 10%,
oh, sure.
without a doubt.
And,
It's already almost 10% of your working capital now, your budget.
right. So, that's, I don't know if we should put it in the form of a motion just to be official or not, but, about not being in agreement, but, I don't know, yeah, well, but I guess if,
Well, that'll be when we approve our.
when we approve our budget, okay, all right, yeah, that's true. So, that was what the DOR told me, it's all in the emails.
That was the best
I
thing.
do have the emails.
Can you send those to Jen?
Yes.
To the record?
I will go through and I will forward all of those,
So I think that's one of the things that
sewer, water.
that we've lacked before. And I question, how are we doing budgets, and we don't have information and all that, but we've never actually voted to approve the water sewer
Oh, no.
budget, and that's what we need to do as a board, is
Yes.
vote to approve the budget and the dollar amount, so that we know what we're working with in our rates and everything else, so that we can say that we have a balanced budget. If we don't have a budget and they're just putting in numbers they want, we have no idea if it's balanced, because
We don't know what-
we don't know what we're comparing our revenues to, or anticipated revenues to.
Sure.
Just when you said rates, in the February meeting, your rate increase discussion will occur, because
Okay.
March is the public hearing, so that I can, if there is a rate increase, I can have it in the May mailer.
Okay,
Does that work for you?
So again, that needs to, we can't determine rates if we don't know what our budget is.
Exactly.
Right. So hopefully I'll have information, I'll have the rate information for you, but I will have,
Well,
him work on
Once
it.
we have the budget,
Yep.
where we stand,
what
so rates ain't gonna make a difference.
we're looking at, because now that the first SRF is complete, all 3 projects are complete, significantly complete, I believe we now are on the clock.
Yep.
So we need to know what that deadline is gonna be, so that we can plan for it,
I'll have
start
him,
planning for
I'll have him work on that in the next one.
it, okay?
The best word you could have said, Scott, was you sit down and you negotiate.
Excuse me.
Simple as that,
Yeah,
you know? You don't take what they tell you.
we've been asking for a long time, but now,
You know?
I mean, it just,
We
year
have a
after
rule-
year,
We have a rule in it.
it's, and we're not in agreement, so. Does anybody disagree with that? Okay, so we're in agreement that we're not in agreement on indirect costs. Okay, superintendent's report.
Mr.
Yep.
Chairman, just to back up for a second.
Sure.
When you were talking to them, did they state any wordage or we can cite that?
No, they said there's nothing in state law that says specifically how that's done. That's determined by
That's negotiable.
local statute and practice. There are common bookkeeping practices, but they're just common bookkeeping practices. Well, an example is FIFO, first in, first out, for inventory control. People don't have to, nobody's bound to use that stuff. But common practices, you know, is just that. But the only thing that makes it common is the fact that there are uncommon uses of it.
And can we get a copy of job descriptions for the positions that are indirect pays?
So, I'm sorry.
That's really for a little bit.
That's a good one, yeah, because it starts from the selectman's
So-
office all the way
Pay
down.
for all. So maybe John-
We
Right,
pay-
so, but I just wanna see the job descriptions because
Of all the ones that,
anything that
Okay.
is included in the indirect cost.
That would be TA,
Yeah,
treasurer,
it
collector,
starts down,
accountant.
works its way down, yeah.
I will work on that,
Assessor.
absolutely.
Right, but I mean, if there, I think one of the times when I looked at it, we were paying like 85% of one person's salary, and I wanna see what the job description is, cause if it's doing for excise and property, real estate taxes,
Absolutely.
and, you know, all the other collecting things, then we're not 85% of that cost.
Right.
I will.
There's far more tax bills that go out than water sewer bills. that
So
go
I
out.
would say we're probably definitely gonna need to have a second meeting in February for budget.
I just paid
The only one we're
taxes
not paying
today.
for is the Parks and Recs.
Oh, yeah, people, yeah, well, we can talk.
Yeah, they don't go down, huh?
So the superintendent is not here, he is ill tonight. So, we do have a copy of his report. We'll review it.
On here is next to the report, Chase Mill, is that something?
Yes, there was did that go out to everyone, the email?
I don't know. I thought I forwarded it.
I got it.
I know I got it.
I might have missed that.
And I apologize, there's been a lot lately, so I try to, and I send to both. All. But that I,
Chase Mill modification.
okay,
Yeah, it was on
I
12/29.
thought it was there.
12/29, all seven, yes, that's right. So there's a big copy for folks who have eyes like mine, to be able to look at it.
Oh, yeah, because I did.
Looking at it on the phone
Yes.
was
I have your,
just not an option, I printed it,
I
but
did comment when I looked at it.
it's 8.5 by 11. So there is a copy, I know I did look through it, and the one thing that jumped out at me just from the review of it was the well. They're talking about dropping a well there for irrigation. Now, is that irrigation of landscaping? Or is that irrigation of
I don't know.
their whole greenhouse?
yeah, I printed it off.
So,
I printed out the email with your question.
Yeah.
yeah, oh, that's right, yes. So, I mean, that well, we had talked at one point about possibly piping Station 5 over there, and giving them non-potable water out of that. And there were all kinds of questions about DEP and.
And I have other concerns about that I think even when Jay was speaking before, that potentially the PFAS was coming from that direction.
Right,
And if they put a well where there's a more heavily concentrated PFAS,
and start drawing it.
and you pull it out, but I know that the new permits, Webster got their new permits.
Would that not
at the
put
same time.
PFAS into the plants?
PFAS is something that they're gonna have to sample for now, so if we increase the PFAS concentrations in the wastewater, that could affect our contributions to Webster's treatment plant down the road. So
There were a lot of
those are
questions.
considerations that we need to think of, and where our water is being treated to remove PFAS, our PFAS levels going to Webster should be
So
done.
I would suggest that everybody take the time to read through the report, the application, there is a full-size set of plans in the office. If you can see on print on small paper and see it, good for you. I tried and I can't, so, not without using my
How
magnifiers.
many
to
copies
look.
did we get?
One from the planning board.
Because I think we had requested multiple copies when we get those.
This just came from the planning board. This is not from the developer.
But I thought that was, we had discussed that when we had the issue last time, where the plans were submitted and we had a set of plans that were a different date than they had, and I thought we had requested when there was a planning board, we wanted multiple copies of the.
They only
current-
get enough plans for each department from,
The contract.
from the contractor. These are the plans that are being reviewed on the 25th.
Yeah, that was, they have actually it's the day before our Webster meeting. They have a public hearing here with them concerning their site plan request. So
If we
between now
request
and
the
then,
plans, we don't get them, we're not approving the plan, bottom line.
We're not- they're not asking for us to approve the
Is
plan?
that a shallow well or a deep well?
So that would be the other thing, is if they put in a well, it would have to go through Board of Health.
How's it
and-
gonna affect our
I was
aquifer?
gonna say, and it's probably in our aquifer.
That's what I'm
it's
getting
in
at.
our aquifer protection, that's not that far from well settled.
Yeah, so.
And
Who are you?
if they pull in a high yield well in that location, and it turns out that the PFAS is coming from
Further away.
this way, they're just gonna pull it faster towards our wells,
That's what I'm getting at.
so.
A deep well or a shallow well, and is it gonna compete against our yield?
Okay, so there are a whole lot of, then that's gonna involve DEP, I would imagine.
So before that meeting, they want comment from us?
This, again, this is just the planning board letting you know that this is what's going in front of them.
Okay, can we send a message to the planning board, say we have
Absolutely.
issues?
Yep.
And, would you issues that have to be referred to the DEP?
No, well,
It's
not
not
at this point.
necessarily has to hit
No.
DEP at this point, but,
Just that
So
they're
this
they're
is-
gonna end up getting involved at some point.
well, this is part of that thing where I
Plus.
said that the planning board should have a 53G account that should cover engineering review, which Ty and Bond should probably review it,
Mhm.
and then potentially Jay Billings review it as part of our aquifer. He's our hydrogeologist that's gonna look at the aquifer and how it's gonna affect it. So if they put in a high yield well, he'll understand right away that, look, we need to put monitoring wells in, and that could be a potential monitoring well sites that get included as part of their project to determine where flows are coming from and if they're pulling water and if it's creating, a plume change in direction or increasing the velocity that the plume's traveling.
If it's coming from this direction.
So that's something that, and that's why it's part of planning in the 53G account. It's to evaluate things like this and what effect this project's gonna have on everything else, including water.
So I was confused as to, and that's why I sent the email, so we'd get it in writing, as to what the planning board reviewed and what, if we had to review information. And I sent the email to you,
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah, this afternoon.
But the 53G accounts are you typically set up through a planning board,
Right,
not through a water sewer enterprise.
that's
No.
correct.
So,
But he said that they review for their,
right, but it's planning.
I know, and I
So they're trying
understand,
to
so I don't know
review
what to,
what effect it has on everything, the town zoning laws, the bylaws. They're looking at everything that it affects and, the neighbor across the street that's gonna smell skunk all day long. That's the stuff that they're supposed to look at, and as part of that, they have to look at what effect it's gonna have on the town's water supply that affects half of the town.
so how do I get them to do that?
I guess they just need to be educated as to the purpose of planning and understand.
When is their
When you're
next
planning,
meeting?
you're trying to
The 11th.
evaluate everything that
The
affects.
11th is the subdivision,
Oh, that's right, yeah.
and then the 25th is that. Because I'm trying to, and I just don't know.
But it's to do peer reviews on what effects this project is gonna have. whether it's traffic or
Yep.
environmental or whatever, and water and sewer is part of that it's gonna have an effect on.
Right, and I know the planner did send the email that if the Chase Mill is located in the Aquifer Protection Overlay District, and the zoning bylaw gives the Water Sewer Commission the jurisdiction over that.
So,
Well,
engineer
they're not putting a
review,
well in there.
peer review should happen. I don't know,
So can I send a request to them, asking them to have it,
Have funds contributed to the 53G account to cover engineering
Yeah.
oversight,
oversight or review
engineer review,
for the water distribution system, the wastewater, the aquifer,
and their testimony.
okay,
We
and
can't-
what effects
This
it's
is all
gonna
recorded
have.
too, so
So I mean, if planning board goes and says, yeah, you're all set, this is kind of like planning board giving them approval to put a hydrant halfway down the road.
Right.
That we said that's not gonna work.
okay,
So that's why it needs to be evaluated before they go agree to something that's not gonna work. If they agree that they can go forward with this project, and then we say, hey, none of our water mains can handle the flow to that, you just approved a project that has no water.
okay, I will send that to him tomorrow, thank you.
Okay, and if necessary, we can go speak with them on the 11th and speak with their board on the 11th and get it straightened out.
But without a full picture of what they're doing, and the engineers looking at our overall distribution system, and knowing whether or not our existing distribution system can handle that flow, or if they're gonna put something in and, I've got a facility that they're one of my biggest users in town. And they're using 20,000 gallons of water a day, and if that water's flowing fast and they stop it, a valve closes, and you got weak AC mains over there and you're blowing lines left and right, I mean, I think that was one of the times we ran half the town out of water was that specific site. Because a hydrant let go,
Yeah, the yard
and
hydrant,
nobody
yeah.
knew it, so if that main leading to that hydrant blows because of something they're doing, and now it's leaking in the river and we run the town out of water again, that's what we need to evaluate to determine if it can handle whatever they're doing.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, do we want to go speak with them on the 11th, so they're prepared to, on the meeting of the, when are they meeting on this, the
25th.
25th? So they can voice our concerns to them on the 25th?
Probably a good idea, yep,
And we're being proactive.
yes.
Can you contact them, see if we can get on that meeting, and if we can, host us a meeting?
Do we need to have all 5 of us there?
Just in case.
I would post it just so that
Yes.
everyone has the option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
suppose.
the 11th, right, January 11th?
That's, January 11th, yeah, January 11th.
Yeah, you can't have all this work going on, and we have to bring in our engineers to defend us.
But they're doing a project that they're gonna make millions of dollars a year on, the town's gonna end up with either a TIF or
Yeah,
whatever, and our ratepayers have to absorb all the cost of the repairs and upgrades
consequences.
to make them money. So that just doesn't make sense.
With the potential for increased cost of sewage.
Yeah.
Right,
because of
and that's
the
what I mean,
defect.
it's all stuff that.
Well,
has-
that and fertilizer and everything else that
Yeah.
could
Right.
possibly get into the,
Don't forget, not only do we have the MBTE down there, plus the coal tar, plus the 4 little
PFAS,
ones. So you got three
Contaminants.
three pollutants in the region.
Known,
Yeah, no.
not including what we don't know
We don't
about.
know, yeah.
okay.
Did you see the, change order?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I see 2 emails that
Yep.
came in today.
They came in today and they've been asked to be addressed.
Change order,
Electric-
Oh, yes,
Both
Yeah.
emails are from Derek.
oh yeah, I saw something about that. Work has been nuts.
Tell me about it.
So, I mean, I agree with, kind of standardizing your VFDs.
Yeah.
especially
Yes,
since we're all well aware of issues with deliveries on VFDs and everything else, and
yeah, I mean, this, yeah, I
if you
mean,
have a VFD that goes down and it's on your higher priority well, you know, it may mean, all right, let's go grab this VFD off of this one and take this one offline instead of that one, or like right now, if station, what is it,
Yep.
8 now? That one's not online, and you may have a VFD sitting there, and if station 3 goes down, or 6
Right.
goes down.
it makes sense to
It's been standardized.
standardize everything. And we're talking about, this is for the water treatment plant, right? So we're talking a 6.5, yeah, yeah,
Well, you still have to come out of 6 and go into the treatment plant. Would
so,
it be 6? Yeah, it'd still be 6, yeah.
so
Sewage.
this is treatment plant. So, you know, we're talking about $17,000 on
Plus
a,
labor.
I think that included
No.
that, wasn't it?
Quote does not include installation.
But installation should have
Yeah,
already
well,
been
Been
included
quoted
as,
part of the quote.
Right.
as part of the contract. They had to put a VFD in, we're just
Right.
changing which one it is.
yes, the installation, the labor will be done as part of the regular contract. This is just to change, evidently, this replacement VFD is more expensive.
Well, that one at Station 1 was a very complicated system when it came in, I remember that much.
So, I mean, well, actually, the total cost is $7,300 on a $6.5 million project.
You credit in the one that's spec.
We're talking about pennies,
Yeah.
you know, when you really think about it. Okay, yeah. Sullivan is quoting 17,000 to do the work, and the credit by giving back the current VFD to Graybar is 12,000, so the difference is 73,800, when everything is all done, is
And
7,300.
if you look at it, it is well number 6, because you gotta realize, well number 6 has to come out of that building.
And go into the
plug
plant,
into the new building.
Right, so, I mean, what's the
Yeah.
what's the pleasure of the board? We can vote on this even though it's not on the agenda?
Mhm,
Okay.
yes.
Did Brian or George have any opinion on this? I haven't seen anything from them.
I think this is being done because they asked.
Yeah, Brian told me to make sure that this get presented tonight.
Okay, so
Yes.
Brian was for it, I just wanted to make sure it
They,
wasn't.
I think they did this to,
The new one, can we get it?
Yes, I
Yeah,
think it was more readily available.
yes.
Okay.
that this was brought up, the change,
Mhm.
because of our people. Just
Okay.
thinking,
I just wanted
thinking
to
about
make sure we weren't,
standardizing.
we weren't circumventing them because they're
No.
not available.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve change order number 2, the VFD change, for a total cost of $7,318.60.
I'll second it.
motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Then you have another,
Opposed?
oops, sorry.
Unanimous.
Then you have a second email from Derek as well.
Oh, yes, about, we've got a leak at the, well, I guess. How did this get found?
They, I don't know, I wanna
Yes,
say-
the ground is wet around the tank, I guess?
yeah, because they found it last Thursday?
Okay, Okay.
Friday, sorry.
that is,
So the contractor's claiming that he thinks it's the
Manufacturer.
manufacturer's issue. But, I guess we don't even know what the issue is to begin with.
it needs to be found, yeah.
It needs to be found. The contractor's kinda, sounds like he's trying to wash his hands of it and doesn't wanna do anything. But if it turns out it's his issue, do we still have retainage and everything on this project?
This is by
Barbados.
Barbados.
I believe there is. because we didn't approve the final
I
sign-off.
was gonna say, I know I,
Yeah.
We didn't do this final sign-off, so this should still be
I think
retained.
there is, I'm trying to think of how much, I just don't.
and I don't know if they're mad over us disapproving the change order last time. Cause at our last meeting, we turned down their extra $7,000 or whatever it was to put an alarm on there, but, just reviewing it, it looks to me like there's potentially an issue, which I think I brought up at the last meeting, that they didn't insulate it correctly. Some of the small lines, which are more susceptible to freezing, were not done correctly.
So it sounds like this leak is coming from, the top of the, up near the top of the tank somewhere.
It's not clear
flowing down.
exactly
They're not
where it is,
exactly
but
where it's coming from.
it's coming down between the tank and the insulation, so until you peel the insulation back,
It's
you
gonna
don't
rust the
know.
tank out, but we can't take the insulation off now, cause you're still in the winter season.
You're gonna have to re-insulate. So,
Yeah.
Who's
Somebody's gonna,
responsible?
so if it's determined that it's Barbado, that it was theirs and we do the work, then I would back charge that to Barbado. I know that Derek requested they come out and look at it this morning, and Barbado just said, no, that's not on us. So how can they determine it's not on them if they didn't come out to evaluate the issue? So it sounds to me, I mean, I would probably recommend that we reach back out to Barbado one more time, and if they do not wanna handle it, we need to move forward and fix it, but I would probably push towards them being unresponsive as the contractor and probably get a letter to DCAM and all them, cause that'll disqualify them for any future projects. And that's not just with us, if it gets reported to DCAM that they're not standing behind their work, and if they just kind of wash their hands of it, that'll be across the board.
They get a hydraulic lift and get up and look, you know?
But they're gonna have to peel back that insulation, and if it was a matter of whatever they did for the heat wrap and insulation, if it caused corrosion on the pipe, or, I have no idea, I didn't see when they did
don't know
the
what,
work,
don't know what the
so
leak is,
Yeah. Gotta find
until
it.
you determine what it is.
okay? So I would assume George and Brian will stay on that.
Gotta consider it a warranty issue, don't blame it. You know what I mean?
Okay, I guess we have no public, so, any board comments? Bob?
No, I wanted to bring up the special town meeting, but we already addressed that.
Okay, Tom?
I think we gotta work over it in a couple of months.
Mhm. Just doesn't let up.
No,
Jay?
I said, gotta stay with it.
Bill? Okay, there also in here is a posting of, our meetings for the year. Looks like the first Wednesday of every month,
Yeah.
right on through. This past weekend, I did something I swore I'd never do, and I responded to somebody on social media. Someone was on the Webster Dudley Oxford Thompson page was saying that PFAS cannot be filtered out of the water. And I told him he was wrong, and he
Better be
told
able to.
me, I was wrong,
Spend a lot of
and
money.
I told him who I was,
The other
and
tanks,
and we went back and forth a little bit, and he said he would get the information when he got home, where he got it from, and he was citing an article that was in the Telegram and Gazette in 2021. So the reason I'm bringing it up here is that, please, if you have questions about the quality of your drinking water, please call 949-8007 and get it from us. If you're getting it from social media, you're getting, in this case, you're getting somebody who is absolutely 100% wrong. Let the people who know the answers give you the answers. We're not out here to lie to you, we're not out here to hide the information. get it from the right place.
So what was his actual statement? Did he say that it's still in the water because it can't be filtered?
It was something about,
Just because technically, I don't know that I would, you're not technically filtering it with GAC, it's creating an ion exchange, so you're binding it, but you're not filtering it. You're just,
you're taking it out of the water.
Removing it.
but it's not technically filtration, when you filter, you're trying to run something through a membrane or something that's
Yes.
smaller than the particle can go through, which
No, it's
PFAS
binding.
can go through GAC, it just binds to it, so
It
it's
binds
not-
binds to the carbon and is kept.
So I guess I would have to see the wording as to how what was his intention of
It
pointing
was
out that it can't be filtered?
something about the fact that the drinking water still wasn't safe because there's PFAS in it,
So
and
that's-
you can't filter it out, and
So that's it.
this, I mean, it's just wrong information.
Wrong verbiage.
We test every month at great expense, and we are, at this point, we are getting we're getting non-detects.
And
You can't get any better than that,
if we were above the safe drinking water
Water.
level, we would be reporting to people.
yes.
We
And
are required to report it if we exceed any levels, so.
We're required to.
we
test
were
it
told
again.
by our good friend at in the Central Mass office that we will not allow, I think I can almost quote it verbatim, because he said it so many times, we will not allow you to put water over 20 parts per trillion out to the public.
Which is why we're not operating Station 8.
Right. So please, get your information call us. We'll gladly talk to you, and give you the correct information. Don't get it off of social media, please. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Meeting's adjourned.
Is the garage door